I've talked in the past about Timeshift, and you guys can check out all of that content here on the YouTube channel. Timeshift was a pretty special game to me, guys. I really enjoyed this game, and I was hoping that we were going to get a full-blown franchise out of this because I thought that there were so many elements within it that were beyond its time, but I also felt that Timeshift had some ways in which that they could really progress forward, and I think that this was a game that I just think that could have really been something special had they made this into a full-blown franchise. But that's neither here nor there because we haven't gotten a sequel to Timeshift, and so the question here in this segment of the show is what happened to Timeshift? So let's get into it. So guys, Timeshift was a game, of course, that came out back in 2007. So, I mean, we're talking a long time ago, guys. This is back when I was first starting, really, to get into gaming as a whole. Timeshift was one of the first games that I had played, probably the first dozen games I played on the original Xbox 360. And I gotta say, when I started playing this game, I was instantly hooked on it. I loved the concept of like reversing time and going forward in time and using, and it was just very easily accessible, being able to do all the different things that you your guy could do within the game. And so with that, the story around it as well was very interesting in my personal opinion as well. So with that, guys, I think what we have to look at is, a number of things, because usually it's one of two things or two of two things that could happen to a game that really warrants a sequel or makes it so that the sequel doesn't come out. The first being the critical reception. So if the critical reception of a game is negative, like it's not very good, usually that would mean that the game very well wasn't well received, and so they may very well decide, that being the developer and publisher, maybe will decide to move on. The second thing is sales. If the sales are bad for a game, usually that would mean that, at the end of the day, this is a business, and so if they're not making the money that they need to, that being the developers and publishers, they'll move on to other titles and such. And so with that, guys, the reception of this game though was pretty good. I mean, it got mixed to positive reviews. So essentially, guys, it got basically 70% out of 100 kind of across the board. Now, IGN gave it a 7.6 out of 10. You had GameSpot give it a 6.5. Game Informer, 7.75 out of 10. So what I'm getting at here is that this got pretty good reviews. I mean, above average reviews, without a doubt. And I think that people, really did enjoy this game when it first came out. Like, people thought this was a cool concept. And I think they really could have continued this, that being Saber Interactive as well as Vivendi Games. The big thing here, though, guys, even though it got good reception, the second part of this, though, is that when we kind of dig deeper into what happened to the developer and what happened to the publisher, the developer being Saber Interactive and what happened to the publisher, Vivendi Games, could really tell the tale. So Vivendi Games, guys, this is a company that has had quite a nice history. However, one thing that that really came up that was very interesting to me was that between 1997 and 2001, the company switched parents and names multiple times before ending up organized under Vivendi Universal. And then in July of 2008, so 1 year, not even a year later, guys, in 2008, Vivendi Games merged with Activision to create Activision Blizzard. So what I'm getting at here, guys, is Vivendi Games is now Activision Blizzard, was a part of that acquisition. Happened in 2008, July of 2008. And that was, of course, shortly after Timeshift came out. And so I think Timeshift just ended up, even though Vivendi Games is like basically holds the rights to making another Timeshift game, I think that it just almost got lost in the shuffle. It was one of those games that got lost in the shuffle during this merging of Vivendi Games to Activision Blizzard. Now, Saber Interactive, on the flip side of this, they just got acquired by Embracer Group in February of 2020, so earlier this year, for a little bit over $500 million, making the studio a direct subsidiary. So they became a subsidiary, guys, of Embracer Group. Now, the games that they've worked on which is interesting. They've worked on a lot of games outside of Timeshift, that being like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, which was one of their first projects after Timeshift. Then, of course, they did stuff like Halo the Master Chief Collection in 2014. I mean, guys, they did a lot of decent projects. I mean, they did The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. They did World War Z. So what I'm getting at is they're not necessarily the publisher, but they're one of the developers here working on these games. And so more recently, they've done, Crysis Remastered, of course, World War Z on the Nintendo Switch, WWE 2K Battlegrounds. They're also working on Quake Champions as well as World of Speed. And so what I'm getting at is this, guys, is Saber Interactive, they could have maybe continued working on Timeshift had Vivendi Games decided to move forward. But I really think we have to break it down to Vivendi Games. They were the ones holding the rights to Timeshift. And this is a game that came out, guys, in 2007. Came out October 30th of 2007. On the Xbox 360 and Microsoft Windows, and then came out November 19th of 2007 on the PlayStation 3. So it came out in 2007, end of 2007, and then Vivendi Games, who held the rights to it, merged into Activision to become Activision Blizzard in July of 2008. So not even a year later, guys, just a number of months later, Vivendi Games merges, and there you have it. Timeshift might have got lost in the shuffle. Now, here's the thing. Even though Timeshift at this point, we haven't gotten a continuation. If you're a big Timeshift fan like myself, I love Timeshift. I thought it was a great game, and I thought it could really, kind of became something special within gaming. The thing is that Vivendi Games, or Activision Blizzard at this point, hold the rights to it. If they ever decided to go back to it and make another game in this franchise or in this series, they certainly could. Now, will they is another question, guys, because obviously Activision Blizzard, they're working on a number of different titles. Call of Duty, of course. They're working on all the Blizzard games. You've got, all kinds of titles Activision owns. And so would they decide to make another Timeshift? Most likely not. They probably would just do a soft reboot, if anything, but I don't even know if they would even necessarily do that, guys. I want to see a continuation of Timeshift just as much as anyone else who enjoys this game. But at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to Activision Blizzard. I wouldn't hold your breath, guys. This is pretty much, in my opinion, what happened, though. Vivendi Games, and these are facts that Vivendi Games, merged with Activision Blizzard. But I'm just breaking it down thinking that Timeshift was one of those games that got lost in the shuffle during this time period that Vivendi Games merged with Activision. But with that, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think happened to Timeshift? Do you think you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you think it was maybe something different, like Timeshift just wasn't as well received or as well received as they would have liked it to be, and they just moved on to other titles? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Timeshift content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.